Hi guys, thank you for joining in to watch this video. Please do like this video if you do take something away from it. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you for joining us in this video all about images and how best to use your images on digital media for the purpose of digital marketing. This could mean anything from websites to social media, so I'm going to try and cover both, but I'm going to start with giving you my top 3 places to go for images that are free. Now, what I would suggest you do is you get onto Instagram in particular as the main place to look up a bunch of photographers and find out where they live and if they live near you and if you're able to have access to them and pay them, because there are some amazing people out there and in particular ones that are local, that have got local knowledge of some pictures that you might want, and you'll be able to either ask them to take pictures for you or you'll be able to go on and buy one of their pictures. Just as a quick example, I have in the past worked with a company and bought an image by a photographer that I saw on Instagram and it was really good. I thought it was amazing. I had already connected with them on Twitter, so actually passively they were maybe aware of me, but either way I knew who they were, and it was only something like 20 quid to maybe use it as a one-off, but if you pay a little bit more they will give you that image and also they'll hold the right to resell it because they own it. You can also buy the image outright so they take it off their portfolio, and that's kind of cool if you have some money behind you and you really love an image. I think for bigger brands that's definitely the way to go down. If you're a small medium-sized company, you're going to be happy with getting an image and agreeing on how you can use it and allowing the photographer to continue to resell that, and it is a great option. One thing I will say is that if you're able to buy it and still give them the rights to use in their portfolio, that actually does help them and it helps you, because they will continuously tell people, oh, they've used it for various other projects. So in a kind of way it's a form of marketing by using them, and it's, in SEO terms, it's a backlink. However you want to talk about it, if as a business transaction, it's helpful to look locally and to buy images that are already out there. So please do support your local photographers that are near you. I always go on social media and think, oh, I need this picture, and I always use recycled images, and these are typically ones that I've done in the past. So I would do a huge photo shoot and I would do a dump of images. So my first suggestion is design a time frame where you were able to take pictures, or if you have a smartphone and your photo quality camera on there is decent, which they all are nowadays, maybe consider taking pictures randomly here and there, and whenever you're doing something, take a picture of it. I often take a picture of my computer and the work that I'm doing, and consequently that's featured on social media as well as on the cover of either a website or other platforms, and it's really helped me feel more comfortable and happy that that image is there and that I've taken it. It's not taken from anywhere. Yeah, there's a real sense of ownership when you do that. It was probably 10, 15, 20, too many years ago now, that I was studying, and when I was doing my degree, it was a creative one and there were lots of different things that I needed, and one of the things I needed was images. I spoke to lots of other students, and in particular the third year students, and as I learned as I went on, I learned one single valuable tool, which is keep files, back them up, keep your external hard drive, but in that take pictures and images. If you're watching this video, I can't go back in time. Coronavirus has already happened. We can't go back in time. So the pictures I've taken 5 years ago or 10 years ago, whenever I did an event or I held an event and I took a picture, maybe I just took a random picture of me walking through the streets. Those pictures are now very, very valuable, because no photographer in the world can go out there and take those pictures now. They just don't exist. Equally, an empty city might be one that you've taken and you can't take that picture if we return to normality. So it's really important to use the tools that you've got. Ooh, got a bit of a bunged up nose today, so I'm kind of fighting against that, making this video a little bit. So I've got 3 places that you can go to get free images, and these are 3 websites that I've that I've used in the past and still currently do. Essentially, you can go and search for royalty-free images, because royalty-free images are images that have no royalties or premiums on them, so they are no cost to anyone, because the photographer who's taken the pictures put them up and said you can have them for this usage. So when you go to these websites, please do look at whatever licenses that they've got. Typically they have the same license. Sometimes if you're talking about licenses, you're looking at copyright licenses, or you're looking at Creative Commons licenses, and this Creative Commons license might be something that you want to look at more, in particular if you're also doing video work, or if you're looking at YouTube or other mainstream medias of using other people's work. The ones that I've used in the past are Pixabay, which was really good and is really good, and they also do video bites, which I needed at the time. That was for an education use, so it was all internal, and actually I felt really comfortable using them. I got bored of the images because I just used that site, so that's when I switched over to use Pexels. Pexels is my second choice, but now I use that as my go-to. More recently, my third choice, which is kind of my first choice, but my first place to go right now, is Unsplash. Unsplash is great, and it's one of those that I might have missed, but recently I have taken a few pictures from there, and I can see their business model is booming because they are now integrated into various other apps. One thing I will say about Unsplash that seems very different about the others is that although you have the royalty-free aspect, it does tell you what photographer has taken them and what ISO, what aperture. It gives you just a little bit more detail about the quality of that particular picture. So that's really kind of cool if you're interested in the quality of the picture and what technical details are needed behind there. Sorry.
I like the words for that, but yeah, that stuff.
So those are my 3 websites that I go to for royalty-free images. If you need to use them on social media, then do. You don't need to necessarily credit them because their license says so, I think. Yeah, it does. I think next we're coming on to what I started with the message of you creating your own content. Finding different ways of maybe taking pictures through the day and storing them. One thing that I do is I take pictures on an iPhone that I've got, and I pay for the amount of storage because I've exceeded my tiny allowance. So in that time I can go back and have a look at, amongst the family pictures, some other pictures that I might have got, and in some cases I've also already pre-organized them into albums. So if you have taken pictures, always download them, back them up, keep them on your computer, or if you've got a cloud service, keep them on there and see if you're able to organize them better as your images that you've taken, or bank stock image files. So that's a really good example of what I've done on my computer. I have a folder called stock, and I also have a bank of GIFs. I love animated GIFs that I might have used in the past, so it allows me to dip in and out, and I've kept all my images and GIFs and all my thumbnails all in a stock folder or a bank folder. It's good practice for you to kind of go, oh, I'm going to get into the flow of doing that, because when you come to do a video on YouTube, for example, and you get to the end, if you're anything like me, you'll forget to do a thumbnail. So you've got to go into Canva, if you use that, and you've got to find an image, and instead of using those images that millions of other people might use, you can use one of your own, and you can just click and drag, or you can make the thumbnail however you choose to make it. The great thing here is that you're now using images that are yours, and these are more valuable than the royalty-free ones. Now, so I want to give you a really good tip on how to create your own images that are really effective. The reason why I'm doing this video is so that you're aware of royalty-free videos or images, or both, that I've used in the past. And these ones are really, really helpful, and they've benefited the social media campaigns or different things that I might have run. And in particular, thinking about websites that I've done, I've brought and used royalty-free images for certain websites. So when I'm supporting somebody building a new website or they're developing one, I would use royalty-free images for that purpose. I would strongly recommend that they find a different image. However, the tip that you can give yourself is to find an image and utilize it change it, have a look at the royalty-free image and see what assets it has, what elements are good about that particular image. One example would be if you've got a business that's facilitated around a meetup or an event, then you might have a beverage of some sort in front in the foreground where you would have a focus point and the background would be blurred. So in that instance you would find a coffee, cafe related image that is royalty free. So I would use that for my client and I would say, but do you have another image? Or maybe we need to think of getting one that replaces that. Straight away they're not thinking, what image do I want? How does that work? The royalty free image might be good enough to use, but actually it's allowing them to think, yes, but it's generic, I want my own. What do I want it to look like? I want it to look like that. So the royalty free image really does help in progressing and developing anyone's mindset on what image might anchor and make something better. That brings me on to the word anchor, which is a media studies technical kind of term. So as the web changes more and more, we look at content based on subjects. It tends to be based on questions and answers and how-to guides and how to support the community that it's intended for. And in that case, an image is supposed to help develop that story and give context and value to whatever content is there. So having an image that anchors and really works well with the text, and in particular that heading title really does embellish a lot of character and can help you feel more in tune with, oh, that does work and that makes sense. And in some cases I've also used it where the image didn't make sense and that kind of raised questions about the type of content and rewriting it. So images are really valuable, not just on their own, but also in terms of content and writing copy. So the key thing to remember here is that royalty-free images, you can use them, but don't always use them and never use them as the main thing. Only use them if you're using them as a benchmark or if they're a passing phase like social media. But be warned, they might be used a million times by lots of other people. In the case of Unsplash, that's possible, which is why it's probably a really good place to find images, but third on my list. Now the final thing I want to mention to you is something that you might know if you're a photographer. And in terms of images, in any world of images, when you're using a royalty-free image or your own image, often we tend to zoom out to take the picture, which is great because we can then crop in for you to take a picture that's already zoomed in isn't always effective. And the thing that I'm going to stress that's really important that I need to make you aware of and what makes a good image are two factors. For web in particular is where you crop it. So you have this wide view, which is typical for a header or a banner, and that can be cropped. So your thinking when you have an image should always be to portray this idea of depth, but also have space. So have your object on one side and then on the other side. As you can see by this video, I like throwing things up on the screen back here or on the wall, and when you're talking about images, this is definitely the norm. And the next thing to think about, number two, is more of a photography term, and that's to think about the grid layout. The grid layout is pretty much that. Your element and whatever bit that needs to be focused on, you would have that element aligned to one of those sidelines. And that's the way I used to think of it. And I think that's okay, that can still apply. However, you can also have something like a hot air balloon, and whatever your subject is should meet where it crosses. So your football, your hot air balloon that might be moving around the screen, if it's captured and it's on the intersection, then that's going to make a really whopping amazing picture. Some of the best pictures out there are with that kind of mindset. It allows you room to understand what that subject is moving into and providing context in that space, and it really allows people to try and imagine what's going on. I really wanted to say thank you for watching. Please do leave a like, I would love you to, and please come back again, and if you've got any topics you want me to talk about, please leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching. Until next time, see you soon. Where's my tea? Where's my tea? My tea? Did I finish my tea?